everybody. My name is Carrie, and this is Luna. She is our striped skunk in our Animal Ambassador program. And Luna wanted to say, happy first day of spring. So we brought her out to celebrate our first day of spring today. Now, I have to admit, skunks are one of my absolute favorite animals. And the reason for that is I think they're very pretty. They're also in the weasel family, which is something kind of interesting a lot of people don't know. And they have one of the world's best defenses when they're scared. Unfortunately, that defense does also get them a bad reputation. Of course, the defense I'm talking about is her spraying. Now, Luna has actually had surgery, so she cannot spray. But in the wild, skunks are known for their ability to spray to scare off any predators they might have, or just defend themselves in general from anything that startles them. Now, I say they kind of get a bad reputation for that because skunks aren't just running around trying to spray everybody all the time. Their spray is actually made in the glands they have underneath their tail, and it only holds a small amount of spray. They have enough for about 6 sprays in a row before they're on empty. So it takes them a little bit, about 10 days, to refill their glands once they do spray. So they don't want to just waste their spray on anybody. So this is a fun fact for you guys about skunks and something that might help you out in the future if you come across one wandering around here in Ohio. Skunks like to give you warning signs. Now, some of their warning signs, they actually kind of go through a series of behaviors before they spray. So the first thing a skunk does if you startle one is it's going to lift up all of its hair and it's going to hiss or growl at you. And that's going to kind of make it look bigger and seem scarier than it actually is and try to scare you away. If that doesn't work, then skunks go into their second stage. They actually will stomp their little front feet at you, trying to make themselves also look bigger and meaner than they really are. And then unfortunately, the last third step is that they do spray with their glands. And that spray can be pretty dangerous, believe it or not. Not only does it smell terrible, but it also, if it gets in your eyes or your nose, it can burn your eyes, burn your nose. It can make you go temporarily blind. I've also seen that some animals, it actually can turn their blood a little bit acidic if it gets too much into their system. So it is a very, very good defense mechanism. But luckily, skunks do tend to give us warnings before they go and use that on all of us. Unfortunately, though, that doesn't always work, and sometimes our pet dogs don't acknowledge those warning signs, and they will get sprayed. So when I'm done here with Luna, I do have a recipe I will share with you guys on how to wash some of that spray out. It's not perfect, but it's one of the better recipes that I've heard about. Now, another reason I brought Luna out today was to talk about our animals that wake up in the spring. So skunks spend most of the winter kind of hanging out in their burrows, taking a nap. They wake up occasionally to come out and get, something to eat or drink if it warms up a little bit during the winter months. But they spend most of the winter sleeping, just like quite a few of our other native Ohio animals. So you're going to see that in opossums. Raccoons do spend some time sleeping in the winter, and groundhogs actually do hibernate all winter long. So since it is the first day of spring, we would like to officially welcome these native animals back and tell them good morning since they woke up from their winter naps. But this time also tends to cause some problems when people see some of these animals starting to wake up. One of the biggest misconceptions that people have when they see some of our native animal friends waking up for the winter is that they're waking up and they're out during the day and that means they have rabies. Well, they actually are waking up, but they've gone quite a bit of the winter sleeping and not eating a ton. Just like Luna, I see, has some food on her nose. But they do spend most of the winter kind of sleeping. So in the spring, when it's time to wake up, they're really hungry. So they will actually wake up and sometimes be out during the day and looking for food. And that's perfectly normal. It also is breeding time for a lot of our native Ohio animals here. So since it's breeding time, babies are pretty demanding, as probably some of you know out there. And the moms will let the babies sleep during the day, and they will go out and they will find food for their babies. So just like us, you put a baby down for a nap and then you go do stuff, right? So that's what our native animals do. So you will sometimes see mom animals out looking for food during the day because it's the only chance they get to. Now, the only time you're going to see a problem is if you see a native Ohio animal, like a skunk or a raccoon or an opossum. If they're out and they're acting really funny, if they're walking in circles, or if they're drooling a lot, those are signs that something's wrong and you should probably call animal control or your local rehabber to deal with it. But if they're just out, living their life, doing their things, then you don't really need to be worried about them. They just sometimes come out during the day and it's not really an issue.
All right, we got lots of questions coming in. So how old is Luna?
Luna is actually going to be 5 years old in May.
And Michael wants to know how much she eats.
So I just weighed Luna's food out today, and it weighs 75 grams, which is the equivalent of 75 paper clips. So, and she likes to eat all kinds of stuff. Luna does not really have a favorite food. She just hates yellow squash. So she does get some of the same food that the bears get, believe it or not. She also gets the little pellets that are stuck to her nose. Those are called insectivore pellets, and they're for animals that eat bugs. She also today had broccoli and cantaloupe and carrot and egg and peanut butter. So she will basically eat anything we put in front of her except for yellow squash.
So Noah, just so you know, we will be sharing the recipe to get the skunk smell out here soon. So stand by on that. Now Danny wants to know, do skunks like to swim?
Do they like to swim? I don't know that they enjoy swimming, but most animals can swim a little bit if they need to.
Ooh, Victoria wants to know how the skunks make their spray.
How they make their spray? Their bodies make it. They have a special gland. Just like you have glands in your mouth that make your spit, they have special glands underneath their tail that make the spray.
Kyler wants to know how big their tail is.
So her tail is probably 7-8 inches long. Well, the fur is. Her tail's a little bit shorter than that. She has very long fur.
So how much does Luna weigh?
Luna weighs, let's see, 2.5. She weighs about 6 pounds.
Okay.
Yep. I'm sorry, I'm doing the math in my head, because at the zoo we weigh in kilograms, but in Ohio we measure in pounds.
So does Luna have an exhibit here at the Akron Zoo?
She is actually one of our animal ambassadors, so she is one of our education animals that goes out and does special programs and animal encounters and things like that. So she's not an animal you'd normally get to see unless you're doing a special program or maybe a birthday party or something like that.
All right, so Nori wants to know if they play.
Luna loves to play. If you guys go back, I'm pretty sure there's some videos on our Facebook and Instagram pages from a while ago. But Luna loves to play. She enjoys her enrichment. We can give her balls and she chases them around for quite a while. If we give her boxes and toys with food in them, she just tears them apart. So she's probably one of our stronger players at the zoo.
So is there a safe and natural way to keep skunks away from houses?
So what I've been told is that the first thing you want to do is block off any place where they can get under your house. So if you have like broken lattice work under your porch, repair that, anything like that, fill in holes underneath sheds, that kind of thing. If you have skunks, I've been told that you can play like loud music during the night and that'll encourage them to stay away because they really don't want to be around people if they don't have to be.
So Hazel wants to know how small baby skunks are.
Baby skunks are smaller than my hand. So they're born, they kind of are like black and white looking, but they don't really have much in the way of fur, but they are probably maybe the size, they would probably fit in the palm of my hand. So they're pretty little and their eyes are closed and all of that.
All right, Casey, yes, Luna is eating broccoli and she does enjoy her vegetables.
She does, as long as it's not squash.
So what is her favorite food?
Her favorite is probably bananas, but as a whole, when it comes to Luna's favorites, we say yes.
So Olivia wants to know how long skunks can live.
They typically live, like in zoos, maybe to about 7 years old or so.
Okay. Vinny is asking how fast they can run.
They are not fast animals. That one, I have somebody on the side that's going to look the answer up for me on that one.
All right.
10 miles per hour.
Okay, so skunks can run at 10 miles per hour.
So how are you able to hold the skunk in your hand without her spraying you?
That's a very good question. So Luna had, on top of the fact that she's used to being around people, she's been around people her whole life, so we don't really scare her, and she's doing one of her favorite activities, which is eating, so she's not in a bad mood anyways. But on top of that, when she was a baby, she had surgery that removed the glands that make her spray that she would have.
So where do skunks live?
They live here in Ohio. I think you can find skunks pretty much throughout the United States. They're not super specialized. They'll eat just about anything they find, and that means they can live just about anywhere. And there are different kinds of skunks in other countries around the world too.
So when do they have their babies, Zayden is asking?
They usually have their babies around this time to maybe a little bit later, and then you can see baby skunks kind of throughout the summer too.
So Maddie is asking where we can see Luna in the zoo.
So Luna is one of our animal ambassadors. She's one of our education animals. So you would typically only see Luna if she was doing a program or a birthday party or something like that. She's not an animal that you could just come to the zoo and visit. So she's a special friend to bring out.
How does their fur stay so white?
That's a really good question. I would imagine there's some waterproofing on her fur so that it doesn't attract dirt and mud and that kind of thing. But that white stripe is actually another defense mechanism for her. Because if you imagine animals that are out at night, that white stripe is actually bright and colorful and shiny. So she's warning other animals that she's nearby with that big white stripe so that animals can see her in the dark. It's another way she can get around using her spray if she doesn't want to.
So do skunks bite?
They can. They are a member of the weasel family, so Luna has some very sharp teeth, so they can definitely bite. I would never go up to a wild skunk and try to play with it. That's a good tip for any wild animal. Don't go up and play with them. Luna was born with people and has been around people her whole life. And I think she's getting about done eating, so I can answer a few more questions, but I'm gonna let her go into her travel kennel so that she can go back home and go back to bed.
All right, so just a couple more questions on the skunk. So Brennan wants to know if he could have one as a pet.
There are some people that keep skunks as pet, but they do require a lot of special care. So really the best pets are gonna be dogs and cats. But if you do a lot of research and you talk to your vet and everything, there are some people that keep skunks as pets. But there may also be permits with that too because they are an Ohio animal.
So Henry's asking, do skunks eat bugs?
They do. So skunks love to eat grubs. So if you've got a front yard that has a bunch of holes in it in the springtime, chances are that you've got grubs living underneath the grass and the skunks are digging them up and eating them. So skunks will almost eat anything.
All right.
And I do have that recipe if you guys wanted me to read that.
Absolutely.
So if you're unfortunate enough to get sprayed by a skunk or one of your pets are, the suggested homemade treatment for that is to use a quart of 3% hydrogen peroxide, mix it with a 1/4 cup of baking soda, and a teaspoon of liquid soap. So the peroxide and the baking soda actually get rid of the smell, mostly. It's not 100% perfect. And the soap actually cuts through the oil that holds the smell on your fur or skin. But be careful because that solution might bleach out some hair or whatever you're also washing. But that is a pretty decent recipe that does a good job of getting most of the smell out.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys go back and watch from the start because we may have already answered a lot of these questions on skunks. But for now, we have a new friend we'd like to introduce you to.
Hello. So this is another one of our education animal ambassadors here. So this is Aslan. So he has been with us for a few years. And Aslan is a rabbit. So he might look a little different, obviously, than the rabbits you see here in Ohio. So Aslan we did adopt. So he did come from a rescue center. So the rabbits that we see in Ohio are going to be more of the brownish color, less of the hair. So Aslan here does have a beautiful, beautiful lion's mane that he is very proud of. But our rabbits in Ohio, like Carrie mentioned, around this time of year you are going to see a lot of baby bunnies out there. So Aslan does want to give you a few tips on if you do see these animals, what you can do when you see them. So if you find a baby bunny, and their eyes are open, their ears are up, the best thing to do is just to leave them alone. A lot of times during the day, the mom bunny will go out during the day, look for food, and then gather the babies back up at night. So usually dusk and dawn are the times that the mom will be with the babies. If the babies are any smaller, their eyes are closed, you can always keep an eye on them. You can always call like a local rehabilitator, and they can always give you more advice if that's something that you need. Also during this time of year, you will find a lot of baby birds. So that's another thing that we find, and we do want to always help. But a lot of times the baby birds are good on their own. So if the baby bird is mostly naked, so it doesn't have too many feathers on them, that is something you can do. So if you know where the nest is, you could always place them back in the nest. So there is kind of like a misconception that if you touch the baby bird, the mom won't come back to them. So that is not true. So feel free to put them back in the nest. But if they have most of their feathers, we call those fledglings. So if they have most of their feathers, they probably are out at the nest and they're fine on their own. So a lot of times the parents are still nearby and coming to make sure that the babies are fed. So that's something you can do to leave them alone. But Aslan here, he does have a lot of cool little fun facts about him. So the one thing most people know about rabbits are their big ears. So those ears do help him stay cool. So if it gets too hot, Aslan sometimes gets a little warm since he has so much fur on him. So those ears do help him cool down. Rabbits can actually rotate their ears like 180 degrees. So he has really strong hearing, so he can hear all around him. And also around him, he can actually see very, very well. So rabbits can almost see completely 360 degrees around them since their eyes are on the side of their head. So they can see above them, they can see almost completely behind them and on the sides of them. The only really blind spot rabbits have is right in front of their nose. So it's kind of their one place they can't see too well.
All right, so Brendan wants to know, how high can rabbits jump?
That is a good question. So rabbits are really good jumpers. So most rabbits can jump about 2 feet. Some can jump a little bit higher. But rabbits do something really cute when they're excited. So called binky-een. So they actually will jump and kind of do a little twist in the air. So that's a kind of a sign that they are happy and excited.
So JP is asking what the rabbit's favorite food is. So what does Aslan love to eat?
So he loves a little bit of everything. So he is an herbivore. So he loves his fruits and he loves his vegetables. So he gets a lot of lettuce. He loves his sweets. So just like I do, banana and apple, those are some of his favorites. He loves lettuce and carrots. He gets a lot of hay. So rabbits do require a lot of hay to make sure they're nice and happy and healthy. Another thing that rabbits like to eat, it's kind of gross, but they like to eat their poop. So rabbits actually eat their poop. This helps with their digestive system. So if you have a rabbit and you see him eating his poop, that's not a bad thing. So that's something they're doing to stay happy and healthy.
So Danny would like to know how they protect themselves from cold weather when living outside.
That is a good question. So our rabbits in Ohio have a really, really thick coat of fur. So that thick coat of fur helps them stay warm. They'll burrow, they'll make little nests kind of under the soil and under the grass to help them stay warm as well.
So how old is Aslan?
So Aslan, he is about 4, 5. Yeah, I think he'd be 5 this year.
Okay. So how fast can they run?
So he can't run too fast. I mean, rabbits are pretty hard. When you see them outside, it can be hard to chase down if you needed to. But rabbits can move pretty fast. I'm not sure exactly
So
about 20.
25 to 45.
Oh, 25 to 45. So actually pretty fast animals.
so how many babies can a rabbit have in one litter?
So they can have a few at once, and they can also have multiple litters multiple times a year. So rabbits have a very short gestation cycle, so they can have babies multiple times throughout a year.
How sharp are their teeth?
So his teeth are pretty sharp. So rabbits' teeth actually similar to rodents kind of, so their teeth do grow throughout their entire life. So that's why rabbits have stuff to chew on, and naturally over time, just them chewing on their food wears down their teeth.
Okay, so how much does Aslan weigh?
That is a good question. So he is about 6 or so pounds. So he's a big boy, but he is full grown. So we don't expect Aslan to get any bigger than he is right now.
So Maddie wants to know why he's so furry.
He loves his beautiful coat. Since he is a domestic rabbit, so he has much more fur than maybe the rabbits we would see outside in Ohio. So he's part lion's head rabbit. So that's kind of why he has that big fluffy mane around his face, and he has a big big fluffy butt as well.
So Olivia wants to know what the main color of rabbits is.
So rabbits can be all different types of colors. So most rabbits you'll see outside. So most native rabbits are going to be more the black color, or black and gray, and the brown, since they're having to camouflage in their natural habitat. There also are the snowshoe hares, which are pretty cool, that you can find up in the colder places like Canada. And part of the year they're actually white, since they need to camouflage in the snow. And then as the spring comes, they actually start losing some of the white fur, and then they grow in their brown coat to actually camouflage in the summer when the snow is all gone.
So Noah wants to know what predators rabbits have.
Awesome. So predators for rabbits are mostly going to be your bigger birds of prey. So it could be like an owl, a hawk, animals like that, because they can be pretty fast, but they don't always have the best of reflexes when something is coming at them from above.
So how can you tell a rabbit's mood?
Rabbit's mood. Rabbits definitely they can get moody, just like any of our animals here. So usually Aslan will show you signs that maybe he's having a day he just wants to be alone, like we all do, right? So maybe if he's just sitting in a corner or something like that. But yeah, their mood just like us, it can fluctuate. They're pretty mellow animals for the most part.
So Lizzie is asking if boy rabbits fight like her pet bunnies did.
I mean, yes, all animals can, just like us, sometimes we get in fights with our friends. So some animals even here at the zoo sometimes have, little fights just to say, hey, this is my area, or this is my room, and you're not coming in my room today. So sometimes the boy rabbits, even girl rabbits can too, but they sometimes can fight over their bedroom area and places like that.
So are rabbits good pets?
Good question. So rabbits can be good pets, but they do require a lot of work. So as you can see, Aslan is big, so he needs a big place to live. They need a lot of food, so they need a lot of fruits and vegetables, so better than most of our fridges at home, they have to be stocked with. And sometimes they can be a little smelly. So rabbits, sometimes their pee has a lot of ammonia in it, so it can have a really strong smell. So if you're susceptible to smell, they have a lot of fur, so they do shed a lot. So they can be okay pets, but they just make sure to do the right research to know what goes into making sure these animals are happy and healthy.
So how do they protect their babies?
That is a good question. So they do have big feet, so it's kind of hard to see his big feet, but actually rabbits can kick. So that might be a way that they kind of defend their babies. The moms will make sure they're covered, so in their nests, a lot of times their nests will be kind of buried under maybe the top layer of grass. So the mom will make sure they're kind of safe and sound in the nest.
How long are their claws?
So they don't get too long, but we do just make sure we keep an eye on them. So if they got too long, we would have to make sure we trim them. But mostly naturally, rabbits are able to wear down their claws just by running around outside in the dirt and the rocks.
So Charlie wants to know if Aslan has any friends.
So Aslan isn't the biggest fan of other friends. So he mostly hangs out with us. So he gets to go out to a lot of schools and churches and meet a lot of different people across Summit County and the nearby area. And he really likes the interaction he gets with people.
So how long can rabbits live?
So how long can rabbits live? Like 15, so like 10-ish years, about 10 years or so.
Just going through the questions, making sure we didn't get any. Lexi's asking if rabbits hibernate.
So yes, so similar to Luna, so rabbits will kind of not fully hibernate, but they'll go a little less active in the winter months. You definitely will still see rabbits out. So even in the winter, even when there's snow out, rabbits will still come out to look for food. A lot of times if you have bird feeders, look out at nighttime, because we used to have bird feeders and we'd always look out at night and we see the rabbits getting the food that the other birds decided they didn't want to eat. So rabbits still will come out in the winter. You just may not see them as often.
Okay. All right, let's do one more question. So this is going to be a two-part question. So are rabbits nocturnal, and how much do they sleep?
How much do they sleep? So they're not quite nocturnal. You may see them, especially in the summer months, you'll still see them out during the day, but they tend to be a little bit more active at dusk and dawn, especially when it's not as hot out. So they'll be kind of out in the cooler parts of the day, but they'll be out at night as well. And then how much do they sleep? They don't sleep much more than we do, but they'll just be a little less active, like I said, just when it's hotter out. It's like we don't want to run around when it's 90 degrees and sunny, beating down on us. So they'll be a little less active during the day when it's hotter out.
All right. We'll say thanks, Aslan. So now, stand by, guys, because we have a challenge for you, for the kids. So we're going to let Aslan go back to his crate. And Carrie, so what do we need the kids to do?
So, since you guys had so much fun asking us all kinds of questions, we're going to turn it around and ask you guys some questions. So I have 4 questions here I'm going to ask you, and then you can go and do some research and answer it back at the bottom of this video, and we will be checking them later to see how many of you guys got the answers right. So, our first question. How can you tell the difference between a boy and a girl mallard duck? And for the older ones out there, bonus, why are they different? Now the second question. Most people will recognize the sounds of birds as a sign of spring, like you get up in the morning, you hear the birds chirping, and you know that it's springtime. But there's actually another sound that comes out at night that people hear at the beginning of spring to tell them that it is springtime. Can you tell me what animal that might be that's calling? Hint, he's not really saying ribbit. Number 3, what is the only marsupial that you can find in the United States? And the last one, this goes back to Luna. What is the main natural predator of a skunk? All right, so you guys think about those, do a little bit of research, and then tell us what answers you come up with. All right?
We'll be sure to share the answers with you later today so you can check your work. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.